On March 28, 2018, a 24-year-old man by the name of Zammis Clark stood in a London Crown Courtroom waiting to be sentenced. His offense? Hacking into Nintendo's internal servers while on bail for hacking into Microsoft's internal servers. All the evidence was stacked against him, and the situation seemed to be dire. But then, when the judge stood up, he let Clark walk free. At once, there was confusion in the courtroom. Clark's parents, who were scared he could be killed in prison, were overjoyed. Meanwhile, his prosecutors, who wanted to see him punished for his numerous hacking offenses, were dismayed. Why would the judge let such a notorious repeat offender off the hook just like that? This is the story of Zammis Clark, the autistic man who brought North Korea, VTech, Microsoft, and Nintendo to their knees and got away with it. During Clark's trial, a lot of his personal information was released to the public. While it was known that he had hacked VTech, Microsoft, and Nintendo, what was less known was that he had hacked North Korea as well. Like any other half-decent hacker, Zammis Clark had a lot of aliases online. One of them was the name Slipstream, which he maintained on Reddit. A cursory glance at Clark's Reddit profile revealed that he was a tech-savvy individual with a passion for soccer. However, one post he made to the Linux subreddit stood out from the others. In the post, he leaked North Korea's proprietary Red Star 3.0 operating system. This leak may have flown under the radar, but it spoke to Zammis Clark's hacking skills that he was able to so easily obtain the hostile nation's governmental software at the age of 20. Despite posting about it on such a public platform as Reddit, there was no criminal investigation into Clark's North Korean hack. However, he laid low for 1 year. Before long, the urge to hack again was itching at his being. This time, his target was the toy company VTech. VTech is a Hong Kong-based company that supplies electronic devices for children worldwide. This includes such devices as toy cars, toy cameras, kids' tablets, and e-books. In mid-November of 2015, the company's Personal Learning Lodge app was compromised. This is an app that interconnects with a user's other VTech devices and allows them to download new content from a server. Although VTech initially tried to downplay the hack, cybersecurity expert Troy Hunt said he couldn't even describe how bad the hack was. The details of 11.6 million users, 6 million of which were kids, were compromised. This included not just names and addresses, but encrypted passwords, IP addresses, headshots, chat logs, and other confidential information. The victims were spread out among the US, the UK, France, and China. Some of this data was shared online, which deeply concerned cybersecurity experts. It is never a great idea to have the personal information of children floating around in the dark corners of the web. Even though the data was quickly deleted, there's no telling who made downloads and backups in the time it remained online. They needed to make sure such an attack never happened again. VTech, who feared persecution, continued to play hardball with investigators. However, the then 21-year-old Zammis Clark went straight to a reporter about how and why he hacked the company. Clark, under complete anonymity, had an interview with Vice's motherboard outlet spilling his thoughts. He claimed there was no malice involved in the hack and that he merely wanted to expose VTech's shitty cybersecurity. In the interview, he claimed that in a since-deleted Spiffy Hacks forum, he saw a couple of hackers messing around with VTech's Inatab Kids tablet. While most of them were doing it for the lulz, such as installing Doom on the machine, a few others were tinkering with the web service that ran all of VTech's products. This made Clark curious. After doing some digging himself, he found the planettech.com website. Realizing the website had a flash-powered login box, he decided to hack it by using an old but gold SQL injection. Using this exploit, he caused the server to run malicious code and gave himself root administrative privileges. Surprised by how easy it was, he poked around other VTech servers and stumbled across the treasure trove of user information. Rather than sell the data on the dark web, Clark claimed he went straight to Vice because he feared VTech wouldn't listen to him. He told them that he wasn't a black hat and would never do something so morally wrong. Vice alerted VTech of the attack, prompting them to put out a public statement. The story about how kids' personal information was accessed by a hacker was then picked up by the BBC, CNN, and the New York Times. Law enforcement agents were then pressured to investigate further. The December following the hack, Clark was picked up by law authorities. However, he was not persecuted because VTech themselves did not want to press charges. The Hong Kong toy company did not want all the attention that came along with a criminal trial. In any case, law enforcement agents were forced to let Clark go, and VTech was fined $650,000 for violating the privacy of children. The company also had to suspend its shares. Once again a free man, Clark decided to lay low. This time, he managed to go about 2 years without hacking any major company. However, in 2017, when he was 23 years old, the urge came upon him again. This time, his target was the software giant Microsoft. At the time, Clark had managed to land a white hat job at the internet security company Malwarebytes. However, that was not enough for him. During the lengthy investigation, Clark was allowed to go home on bail. However, the court made a great mistake in not taking away his computer privileges. Throughout the lengthy trial process, the urge to hack once again built up within Clark. Before long, he could not help himself, and he decided to tackle the gaming giant Nintendo. It took a while for Clark's hack on Nintendo to come to light, mainly because the company, infamous for its secrecy, limited public information about the hack. At the time, Nintendo was suffering a barrage of security leaks on its precious private information. Some of them were by a hacker known as Ryan Hernandez, a hacker who happened to be taking credit for Clark's work. Unlike most hackers, Ryan Hernandez was a braggart. Anytime he hacked Nintendo, he would immediately go online to boast about it. He would publicly make fun of the FBI as well. This motivated them to pin him down. Sooner rather than later, Ryan was picked up by the FBI. During the trial, many of his stolen files came to light. Some of those files were child pornography, meaning that Hernandez was going to go away for a long time. However, the timeline of his leaks revealed that there were other hands at work. While Ryan was sentenced to 3 years in prison and ordered to pay $260,000 to Nintendo, the authorities began their search for the other hacker involved. This was when Clark's contributions came to light. While out on bail, Clark initially gained access to Nintendo's internal servers using a VPN. From there, he reused the same technique that worked with Microsoft and uploaded a web shell to give himself a backdoor. After that, Clark was able to steal 2,365 usernames and passwords from Nintendo servers. He also helped leak 1 terabyte of Nintendo's confidential data. This was such a monumental event in the gaming community. Though Nintendo was one of the most successful gaming companies in the world, it was also an incredibly secretive corporation. The company routinely sends cease and desist letters to content creators who merely discuss data mines. To see them exposed like this was quite shocking. Source code from previous Nintendo games, as well as assets from unreleased projects, were freely available to the public. Clark caused a company to suffer up to $1.8 million in damages. Before even more information could be leaked, he was discovered. This grossly changed the shape of his ongoing Microsoft hacking trial. Switching up his defense strategy, Clark's lawyer, Charles Burton, passionately argued that for his client, hacking was like an addiction. He argued that because Clark was on the autistic spectrum, it was not something he did out of malice. Rather, it was a fixation, a neurological compulsion. Just like how some people were addicted to drugs or alcohol, Zammis Clark was addicted to hacking. The presiding judge, Alexander Milne, was quite skeptical of this defense. He was used to lawyers saying anything at all to get their clients off the hook. However, he had a change of heart when he read a letter from Clark's parents. In it, they made an impassioned case for the life of their boy. Clark's parents begged the judge not to send him to prison. They argued that because of his autism, he was likely to wind up in trouble. They also mentioned his face blindness, a condition in which an individual is unable to recognize faces. Surely a mix of such disorders would not do well for an individual in jail. In their letter, they also provided a plan of action for caring for Clark. A plan that would rehabilitate him rather than unduly punish him. This convinced Judge Milne. Believing that Zammis Clark would not benefit from a prison sentence, the judge gave him a 15-month sentence suspended for 18 months. In his words, Judge Milne said, "Everything I have heard and been told leads me to believe this is a young man who would suffer disproportionality if he went to prison." He also commended Clark's parents and wanted to shield them from further heartbreak. If they managed to keep their son out of trouble for the 18 months following his sentencing, he would be a free man. While this sentencing outraged some, it pleased others. To them, a judge was at last using his power to help someone who actually needed it, rather than condemning him to prison for something he couldn't help. Yet still, there were others who were skeptical of the whole affair and believed that the judge had been duped. How could such a repeat offender be innocent? Well, what do you believe? Was Clark an innocent autistic person, or was he a nefarious hacker who had managed to fool the authorities? Given how talented of a hacker he is, Clark's name will surely be in the news again. As to if it's on the side of the good guys or the bad guys, that remains to be seen.